I want to be able to teach others, right?
Yeah.
Probably couldn't have done that with bald head time. I remember I was talking about being passionate about serving God. And I shaved my head for Sheaves for Christ because I was raising money as a young person. I was passionate. We've got to find passion in serving God so that we can teach others. There we go. That story wasn't for naught. Spiritual reproduction. Every normal living thing reproduces itself, right? It is true with fishes, birds, wild animals, humans, or the various kind of plant life. As I looked at the title of this song, the title of this message tonight, as I was talking to my wife, I was like, spiritual reproduction. It takes two, baby.
Yeah.
Me and Jesus, we've got to work together, right? Each of us, we've got to work together to reproduce people that are going to serve God. They're going to be rooted in Jesus, that are going to follow in His footsteps, and that are going to do the same thing and reproduce, right?
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
We're not one person.
That's right.
It's not only super Christians who win souls. It's each and every one of us. If you don't win souls, then you're not doing what Jesus wants you to do.
That's right.
I'll throw this out there for just a little example. I noticed on Sunday that the light was out and I forgot. I was going to replace it. And as I was kind of worshiping tonight, I looked up and I saw the light was out again. And that the platform is dark. You know who normally replaces those lights? Anybody know? No. Gary replaces those lights. Right, Gary? You're the one who replaces those up there. Gary probably hasn't seen it yet. Gary's got a lot on his plate. Maybe he did see it and just didn't have time to do it. But how many of us saw the light that was out? Just me. The light's out. Now everybody knows. After church, it gives an opportunity for a young person to figure out and learn how to replace that light.
Come on.
We can spiritually reproduce someone. Yeah, you're like, but I thought spiritual reproduction would mean they're going to preach, or they're going to teach, or they're going to do something. No, spiritual reproduction is changing the light bulbs too.
Yes.
If someone doesn't know how to change the light bulbs, and you're responsible for changing the light bulbs all the time, you get to an accident, you have to figure it out. Come on. That doesn't make us more effective. It makes us less effective as a church. All right. Spiritual reproduction is not just having to do with preaching and teaching, being a Sunday school teacher, and just reaching souls. It's changing light bulbs. It's vacuuming floors. It's working for God, being passionate about His house, being passionate about the work that God has for each and every one of us.
Right.
I love my church. I love serving God, and I will do anything for my church. I will spend 12 hours at church, working and doing things that just need to be done. I ain't got no problem with it. But if I do it all the time, and I don't teach someone else, I have completely failed. I sent a text message to a couple of guys, of the youth guys, because I'm getting ready to change the brakes on Saturday. And I was like, it has nothing to do with spiritual reproduction, but it gives me an opportunity to maybe teach them something that they could use for their life. How to change a tire.
Yep.
Do you know there's people that don't know how to change a tire? That is something that you can teach a young person. And you're like, well, how is that spiritually reproducing someone? Jesus was personal, right?
No.
Jesus got on a boat with some stinky fishermen and reached them. Fishing. And I'm like, I ain't got to preach to reach someone.
Come on.
You ain't got
Come
to
on.
prepare
Come
yourself
on.
or be in perfect conditions to reach someone or to represent yourself. But if you'll
That's
spend
good.
time with people
That's right.
and just love them, care about them, and teach them a useful skill that's change the church van tire.
Yeah.
When they're on a youth trip or something. There are so many reasons why you should find a young person and teach them something you know.
No.
Because you're going to change their life. Do you know why I know how to change my brakes and rotors? No, you don't, because I haven't told you that story. Because there was a pastor in Reed City, Michigan, that after my dad died, he said, hey, you want to go on a trip with me? And I can't remember where we went, somewhere in Michigan. I think it was like Lansing or something like that. We went down there, and I learned how to change ball bearings, brakes, and rotors one day. You know what that did for me? I was able to do it for my mom. After my dad had died, I was able to change my mom's brakes and motors and save her a ton of money. Several times. I've been able to do it myself and save myself a bunch of money. And you're like, well, that's not spiritual. I got a connection with the pastor.
Come on.
Do I still talk to him? No. But it was that relationship, someone who cared
That's
about
right.
me
That's right.
in a dark time of my life.
Come on.
And you're like, well, no one's lost their dad here or any of that stuff recently, but doesn't mean they're not in a dark time. It doesn't mean that you can't grab someone and pour into their lives. If you want to reproduce yourself spiritually, you're going to have to open your doors. You're going to have to get a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Right.
You're going to have to walk out of your house on a Saturday and do something with someone. Spend time with someone. You know what all of a sudden is going to happen? They're going to be up here teaching one night and you're going to realize, I made an impact on his life. Yeah, he doesn't see me talking about the story that was 16 years ago. Something like that. But here I am today. He's one of the reasons why. Because he spent time with me.
Yeah.
Personal evangelism.
Right.
If Christians would reproduce themselves in a short time, the world would be full of Christians. Why should it be that all of God's creation is normal in reproduction except Christians? Sometimes that is the thing that we do the worst at as Christians, is reproducing ourselves. The moment the church stops reproducing itself is the moment it dies.
Right.
Is the moment that it ceases to grow, is the moment that it ceases to move forward and to share the gospel. You see, at the day of Pentecost, people were passionate about what had happened. They were excited and they started churches and they did something for God. Paul turned his world upside down. What has changed in Christianity today? We come to church, we've got some nice clothes on, we smell good, we walk past the bum at the corner, and we're okay with it. It doesn't prick our hearts. And that's where Paul would have ministered. He would have found himself comfortable in those places. Jesus would have found himself comfortable reaching those people.
Come on.
It's our responsibility. You young people have to get passionate about serving God. You've got to find a ministry, something in the church. You've got to try some things. You're young. When I was your age, I got to try so many different things in the church. And I was excited just to be asked to do something.
Right.
You don't have to wait to be asked to do something. You can grab someone and be like, hey, what can I do? You can go to the pastor. Is there something that I can do in church? Is there just a small job that I can have? I can guarantee you, he will find it. I will find it. It is important. Every single one of us should have a job that we do, that we are passionate about, that we care about, that we would give everything for because we want to see it succeed. Debbie, you are one of the most passionate people I know about Sunday school. You love Sunday school. You care about those kids. You want to see Sunday school grow. You're passionate about it. Replicate yourself. Show someone else how to be passionate. They may not have the passion you have today, but if you'll pour into them and you'll teach, all of a sudden that passion will grow and rise up in them. Right. Someone else may not be passionate right now about youth ministry like I am, caring for the young people, but there will be a day if I will pour into them, they'll get passionate about it, and then they'll want to see young people saved. And wanted to see a men's ministry. I had the most awesome experience when I was in New Mexico, seeing men get did the men? They led the worship. You know what happened? You know, young people, how sometimes you guys come up here and you start praying and we kind of talk about how if one goes, we all go. That's how we're going to do it. These men down in New Mexico blew my mind. It wasn't the young people, it was the men. They walked up in there and then they all followed. And they were all up there and they were praying. And I watched as my brother left the sound booth and walked up there and the men surrounded him and began to pray for him. I couldn't believe it. Man, if you are passionate about men's ministry, if those are the things that you want to see in this church, you're going to have to replicate yourself. You're going to have to show someone your burden. You're going to have to show the men how much you care for them and how much you care about their families. It's so important that we as leaders in this church, and every one of us are leaders here tonight, that we replicate ourselves, that we show people God's love, that we get passionate about serving Him. In John 20 and verse 21, it says, "As the Father has sent me, even so send I you." Jesus established a plan. I'm sending you. That was the commission. That's our job. It's to go into the world. Mark 16 and 15, "And he said unto them, Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." Now, I am not like a scholar, but I read that today and I laughed and I was like, I preach to my dog sometimes. I don't think that's what it means. I'm not sure why it exactly uses creature, but. "And Jesus came and spake unto them." In Matthew 28:18-20, it says, "And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the ends of the world." What are the three things that happened there? First one, let's go with number one. Teaching. Second thing was baptizing him. The third thing was teaching. There was three things. Teach, baptize, teach. "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and Son, and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always." So we've got to teach people. We've got to baptize people. And we've got to teach people. Do you know teaching is way more intimate than when I get in and I begin to teach a young person how to change brakes. And I sure hope I get 2 on Saturday. And now I'm going to do thing in 11. But anyways, if you will teach someone in those moments, and you'll take them and you'll show them things, and you're like, well, that's not teaching them how to serve God or anything like that. Nope. But when they pull over and they see someone on the road that's stranded and it's a mom with 3 kids that doesn't know how to change her tire, and one of these guys pulls over and stops and helps him out, you don't think she's going to remember that for the rest of her life? Yeah, we live in a whole different world today where things like that don't happen enough. Where men get out and help one another. That's the things that we've got to reproduce. Those are the things that we've got to replicate.
Yes.
Hurrying along. Skip a couple pages. It's not like flipping into iPad. Never underestimate the contribution of one person to fulfill the Great Commission. How many of you know about P7? There's a couple of you. P7 is something that the youth do. It is a school Bible club. And you're like, well, what's so great about this? And why are you talking about this? Well, listen to this. Do you know who started that? It was like a 15-year-old boy from Wisconsin.